Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Throne Room. It's your host, Alex King. It feels good to be back. Wow, we've had a few weeks off from football. We've sort of had a break. I mean, we had the draft, and we were busy with school during that time, so we took a break. We had a lot of special episodes where we kind of just talked about anything and everything that interests us, and I enjoy doing that. I enjoy kind of just taking a break and just shooting the breeze with everyone, and so that's what we have been doing. But we're back to football this week. Let me know if you enjoy talking about just anything and everything. Just shooting the breeze. Of course, if you've been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, you'll know where to find us. We usually say at the end of the episode, but I'll go ahead and plug them right now. It's the Throne Room on Instagram and Twitter, so go follow those if you haven't already, and go just let me know what you think. Of course, my personal stuff is at akingboss99 on Twitter, and on Instagram at king__Alex__. So we're back to football this week. We're going to try to make this a full episode. Of course, it's just me here in the studio. We don't have Nico, Seth, or Sean. But we'll be back as soon as school starts up again. We're going to have a brand new studio. We're going to set up everything real nice for y'all. It's going to be great. We're also going to start recording and uploading video on YouTube to go along with the podcast as well next season. So, but we're back. So we're going to start a new 6-week series called The Top 5. And I'm just going to go ahead and basically run down the top 5 quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers from the NFL level down to college football, D1 specifically. So we're going to start that. And of course, we got some other stuff I'd like to touch on too this week that I thought was fairly interesting and quite relevant going into next season. So this week's topic is going to be top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. And this one kept me up like all night because, first of all, it's very tough. There's so many factors going into this week, and you'll see, you'll kind of understand what I mean when I start bringing them up. But people that you would think would be great quarterbacks, that have been great quarterbacks in the past, they don't have the weapons that they're going to have, or they didn't last season, and they might have them this season with new coaching staff, new offensive coordinators. So it's sort of a new page turning in the NFL for a lot of different teams. A lot of the big teams that we all know and love are going to have different platforms that their entire offense is going to come from. Their entire quarterback play is going to come alive this season, or it might not. So that's why this was a very difficult thing to talk about. It wasn't just cut and dry. It wasn't, let me just grab the top 5 names, out of nowhere and put it on the show. It takes a lot of time to kind of really articulate these top 5. So I'm going to start from the bottom. And actually, the bottom was more difficult to decide because of all the factors. And you'll sort of see my direction in this. So starting off at number 5, it's a guy who in last season, at the end of last season really, and this season is going to have a lot of decent weapons to work with at the wide receiver position. It's a guy that has good running back help, great running back help, one of the best running backs as far as rushing yards last season. And so he's going to have help at the offensive line position, the running back position. He's going to have guys that are going to get open for him. That guy locked in at number 5 is Mr. Dak Prescott. And I'm going to get so much, if Nico was here, oh my gosh, if Nico Forlini was here with me right now, he would throw a brick at my head and call me insane. But listen, we're talking about a guy who hasn't really had any good wide receivers since Dez Bryant, and that was in one season. Of course, Dez Bryant kind of fell off. He was inconsistent. Now he's gone. He's not at Dallas anymore. Last season, turn the clocks forward a little bit. Last season, we got Amari Cooper, okay? And we really saw, and any good wide receiver can make a mediocre quarterback look good, but this guy sort of unlocked Dak Prescott, so to speak. There was a lot of potential in Prescott that we never really got to see, And I think going forward, especially with their draft picks and other trades, they're going to have very good connections all throughout. They're going to have a deep threat. They're going to have a shallow threat. And, if Jason Witten's coming back and he's healthy, we might even see a potential dynasty here in Dallas. Now, with that being said, of course, I could just be talking just to talk. However, there's always that possibility. I mean, we've seen over in Cleveland, Baker Mayfield, another quarterback with outstanding potential to be one of the greats. We see, him getting all these weapons in. We're going to see him doing a lot better this season, even than he did last season. I mean, he did great last season with the juice and with Nick Chubb and all the weapons he has. He has even more weapons now with OBJ coming in. So we're going to see sort of the same dynamic in Dak Prescott this season, and I think it could be something special for his division. He most likely will win the division, in my opinion, and that's not just a San Antonio Dallas bias. It's I think there's really something there. For me, I was either going to put Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson. Of course, Deshaun Watson has D-Hop, and he's always going to be a staple in Houston. But they really only picked up one solid offensive tackle, and that'll help, of course. But you need to have something. You need to have something more solidified on your offensive line. One person is not going to cut it, especially in this league when every single down lineman is going to be stout, and it's just going to be difficult for them to guard all four of them or three of them, plus a blitz here and there. So you're going to have a little more for Deshaun Watson, especially after he's been, the most hit player in all of, football ever. And so they're going to have some more rebuilding there, and they might have a growth year this year in the offseason. Who knows? But that's number 5, Dak Prescott. Here's number 4. And this is sort of the opposite of why I chose Dak Prescott. Because it's not that he has new receivers. It's not that, he had an amazing season last season, because he didn't. Green Bay they didn't do anything great. They didn't do anything outstanding. It was very mediocre. They had a losing season, which was disappointing because I'm a big fan of this guy. But Aaron Rodgers sits in at number 4. The unknown factor here is that they're going to get an entire new head coach. They're going to get an entire new offensive coordinator. This is the breeding ground for great possibility. Now, we've seen in the NFL and college teams getting new coaching staff, and it hasn't worked out so well. And players and coaches have a lot of friction. I'm going to give Rodgers the benefit of the doubt. He's a veteran. He knows how this league works. It isn't the first time that he's had a faculty change. He's going to have to step it up this year. We've seen him do amazing things in and out of the pocket. He's one of the most clutch quarterbacks, hands down. And so that's why he has to go at number 4. Even if he doesn't have an outstanding receiving core, he's a guy like Tom Brady who can turn anyone into a good player. Not saying that the receiving core in New England is bad. It's just that Tom Brady makes them look great. But I think Aaron Rodgers here in the number 4 spot is going to do some great things this season and the next, hopefully, with this new coaching staff. We'll see. It could be the opposite. He could have another down year, but nonetheless, he's still one of the top 5 greatest quarterbacks going into 2019. And we just said his name, number 3, and I struggled with this one too because, a guy like Tom Brady has to fit in somewhere on this list. You have to find space for him. He just won another Super Bowl. So how can you not put the guy at number 1, right? I mean, how can you not put, just a staple in not just New England's franchise, but all of the NFL? How can you not put him at number 1 or 2? And I think the reason is, look, the guy's going to be 40. He's 41 or 42. He's old. He's an old man. And, in the NFL, quarterbacks get hit. There's no question about it. I don't care if you stand in the pocket and you're a great game manager like Tom Brady and you can just throw the ball and get it out of your hands so that you don't get hit. And even with the new quarterback rules, prohibiting any sort of actual football contact on the quarterback. Even with that, look, football is always going to be a violent sport, and the body takes a lot of hits in football at any position, especially when you're that vulnerable as a quarterback. I don't know how much longer Tom Brady can live. He has not live. I think I was thinking, I don't know how long Tom Brady can live in the NFL. How long he can sustain himself to be playing at the level that he's been playing. But nonetheless, he's at number 3. He's hands down the greatest quarterback of all time, despite the whole kissing his kids thing that we've talked about numerously on the podcast. But I don't even want to waste my time getting into that. We've talked at numerous lengths about that. Nonetheless, he's a great quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, ever. And he can do almost everything. Of course, he just hit the 1,000-yard rushing milestone. He's not a rushing guy. He's a throwing guy. He does it all. He can do it long. He can do it short. He's a veteran at reading any type of coverage that you put out there for him. He's a great quarterback. You can't argue with that, and that's why he has to go in the top 3 of this list. The only reason why he's not number 1 or 2 again is just because he is slowly deteriorating as a quarterback. His physical ability is dwindling by the minute, quite literally, in the NFL. So who knows? He could prove me wrong, as he's proved millions of people wrong before, and go out and win another Super Bowl with the New England Patriots. I don't know. I don't see why he cannot do that. I don't see why any of these guys can't do that. Teams have breakout seasons all the time. And here are his top 2 competitors. At the number 2 spot, a guy that came out of a school that isn't really known for football, a guy that had all the weapons at his expense, all of the possibility at his fingertips, and he still continues to have the spotlight directly on him. This guy's name is Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs. And yeah, he's got all the weapons at wide receiver and running back. Yeah, he's got a fantastic defense that comes out on the field when he's on the sideline. Yeah, he's got a fantastic offensive line. He's on one of the best teams in the NFL, but he is on one of the best teams in the NFL because he always has the spotlight on him. This is a guy that had 50-something touchdowns last season. He had some... Literally, I don't even know the physics of how the ball got to the receiver, but he somehow got it to them in impossible coverage. He's a second year starter for the Kansas City Chiefs, and yet he is already doing things that none of these other quarterbacks could do, minus Aaron Rodgers with his throwing ability. He's reading coverages like he's been in the league for 10 years. I mean, it's ridiculous. He had one of the lowest touchdown to interception ratios last season, not to mention the 50 touchdowns. He can do it with his legs. This guy's the full deal. His sidearm throw, his skill, his accuracy is uncanny. I don't think anyone can replicate that this year going forward. And maybe this is just MVP hype. Maybe I'm just talking because, this is the MVP. We're expecting another 50 touchdown season. We're expecting the Chiefs going deep in the playoffs again, facing the Rams. We're expecting all of this of this guy. So maybe he isn't it. I don't think a guy that has exemplified so much skill in one season is going to just flop like that. We haven't ever seen something like that ever. The only time that I can think of off the top of my head is Michael Vick, and it wasn't because he just dropped off. It was because he had stuff that he was dealing with off the field. So I don't think we can say that about Patrick Mahomes, and that's why he's got to be at the number 2 spot, hands down. I don't think there's anyone that can match his skill, match his competitive nature. This is a guy that has to go number 2 on this list. And sort of his complete foil as a quarterback is Drew Brees. And yeah, that's the number 1 guy. That's the number 1 quarterback going into the NFL this season, in the 2019 season, is Drew Brees. And, I said a lot about Tom Brady's age.